Chapter 7. The Story of the Titanic. In the early 1900s, the Titanic was the largest ship ever built. It was a luxury ocean liner built to carry passengers between England and America. The Titanic was 883 feet long and 93 feet wide. To imagine the size of the Titanic, you would have to line up 22 double-decker buses front to back. That would give you the length of the ship. It had 8 decks. It was as high as a 10-story building. It could carry 3,547 people. It was the heaviest ship built in those days. Fully laden, it weighed 67,063 tons. The builders very proudly announced that the Titanic was almost unsinkable. The Titanic was like a huge 5-star hotel. It had many grand rooms with the finest of fittings and decorations. There was a ballroom, dining salons, a reading room, and many other attractions. However, its most stunning feature was the grand staircase. It was 16 feet wide with a glass dome as a ceiling. This ceiling was 60 feet high. At night, it was lit by a massive crystal chandelier with gold-plated fitments. The Titanic was indeed a showpiece of master craftsmanship. This grand ship's maiden voyage, as the first trip of the new vessel is called, began on 10th April 1912. It left Southampton on the coast of Britain at exactly noon. It was to travel to New York in North America. It carried 1,257 passengers and a crew of 944. The night of April 14th was a bitterly cold moonless night. However, the sky was clear, dotted with myriads of stars, and the sea was glassy and calm. As the Titanic steamed ahead, it picked up many messages warning about icebergs. But the captain of the ship, Edward J. Smith, was sure his ship was in no danger. Suddenly, the Titanic struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. The major portion of the iceberg was below water level. It made 6 long cuts all along the hull, or body of the vessel. Water began to pour into the lower decks, but passengers heard nothing and slept on. Captain Smith sent urgent messages on the ship's radio asking for help. Then he ordered the crew to wake up the passengers. For the next 2 hours, there was total confusion. The lifeboats were lowered and women and children were the first to be evacuated. Tragically, not one of the ship's officers knew that the lifeboats could be lowered after loading the passengers. Many more lives could have been saved. The Titanic finally broke into two. At about 2:20 a.m. on Monday, 15th April, it sank into the freezing waters of the Atlantic Ocean. About 1,500 people drowned. Captain Smith and nearly all of his crew went down with the ship. Baby Melvina Dean, aged only 9 weeks, was the youngest survivor. A ship called the California was only 20 miles away. But her radio was turned off for the night and the operator was asleep, so she did not receive the messages from the Titanic. Another ship called the Carpathia heard the Titanic's calls and sailed at full speed towards her. Unfortunately, she was far away and took more than 3 hours to reach the Titanic. The tragic sinking of the Titanic made people aware about the need for safety of passengers on ships. Questions were raised about why ships carry so few lifeboats and why they turn off their radios. Soon it was decided that all ships must carry enough lifeboats to carry all passengers on board. It was also decided to keep radios on board on day and night. There are many stories of bravery on that terrible night. The Titanic had 2 bands aboard. One band was led by a violinist named Wallace Hartley. This band played on till the very end, even as the ship was sinking. There are some strange stories relating to this disaster. A number of people had dreams and visions about this accident days before it happened. In Scotland, a young girl lay dying. On the night of April 14th, she spoke of seeing a huge ship sinking, many people drowning. She saw a person called Wallace playing a violin. A few hours after this dream, the girl died and Titanic hit the iceberg. The wreckage of the Titanic lay undiscovered in the murky depths of the North Atlantic for 73 years. In 1985, it was located by a submarine. The ship was lying in 2 pieces on the ocean floor at a depth of 13,000 feet. Photographs were taken and small pieces of wreckage were brought to the surface of the water. The last survivor of the Titanic, Miss Dean, who was only 9 weeks old when the ship sank, died in Hampshire, England at the age of 97 in 2009.